Las Vegas, Nevada, the fight capital of the world and home to a reality competition like no other. Get ready for Before the Ultimate Fighter, Team McGregor versus Team Chandler. Let's go.
This is the greatest moment in my professional life.
It's in the air.
I'm gonna pin you. This is my game forever.
There's a new king in the lightweight division.
That's why you paid the big bucks for Michael Chandler.
Yes, you're slipping, you're dipping.
Relentless in their face. Beautiful. That's it. Conor McGregor.
Surprise, surprise. King is back.
Let it go.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize.
No.
Absolutely nobody.
See you at the top.
Are we ready for it?
All right, what an absolute pleasure to welcome you to Before the Ultimate Fighter. I'm Jon Anik, and as many of you know, for the first time in the show's entire history, Tough is airing on the biggest stage in sports, ESPN. It comes your way every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. It all begins on May 30th. And you know what? We're up in the ante this year. We're shaking things up a little bit this season. It's going to be prospects versus veterans. Hungry up-and-comers paired against fighters you may have already seen compete at times prior in the UFC octagon. The latter, of course, looking to get another shot with a UFC contract and to be forever emblazoned and branded the Ultimate Fighter. Taking center stage as coaches, we got two heavy hitters, three-time Bellator lightweight champion Michael Chandler. And on the other side, the UFC icon, the former two-division champion, Conor McGregor. Two athletes with crowded championship mantles at home, and of course, two men whose highlight reels will withstand the test of time.
He got tagged. He's hurt. It is all over. History has been made.
Early head kick from McGregor. Slowly trying to survive. Conor McGregor. Too easy. Big knockdown from Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler.
That's why you paid the big bucks for Michael Chandler.
Joining us later in the show, a former Ultimate Fighter coach and a man who fought both McGregor and Chandler. That man, former UFC lightweight champion, the underground king, Eddie Alvarez. We will also be joined by one half of this season's coaching duo, Iron Michael Chandler. But now joining us, a UFC Hall of Famer who can lay claim to having coached 2 seasons of The Ultimate Fighter. He's the California kid, Urijah Faber. Urijah, we appreciate the time, man. Great to see you as always. So you coached against Dominic Cruz on the only live season of The Ultimate Fighter. Then you went head-to-head with Conor McGregor. You're a great coach, man. We see it every weekend. But how did you have to adapt your coaching style to actually allow it to succeed on The Ultimate Fighter?
You just have to remember that everybody's different. That's step one. You kind of got to get the psyche down. That's more important than technique. Technique is all over the world for free these days. Today's the day and age where technique is out there. You need to have proper technique. You need to have great game plans. But more importantly, you have to get inside the head of these guys, find out what makes them tick, what they think about themselves, etc., and really kind of invest in them as individuals.
I know you and me are kind of old men now, but we were on that live season of The Ultimate Fighter back in 2012. What do you remember about that, the only live season in the history of The Ultimate Fighter?
Man, first off, it was twice as long as every other season. And, I mean, what a fun experience. You really got to get in and learn about individuals on both sides. You get to see true character and work ethic and see the champion mindset and guys that maybe did have it or didn't have it. Still a ton of guys from that season that are friends of mine and having great careers. And, what a great experience.
All right, so when you then coached against Conor McGregor back in 2015, you said it's hard to get under your skin. He went to great lengths to try to sort of occupy some space in your head. So to refresh your memory, let us take a look back.
I don't see Urijah as a competitor. You know, he is just there.
What's up, little man? How are you? You're not wearing your high heels today? High heel dress shoes?
No, they're python skin.
Python?
I hunted them myself.
We don't even know what python is in America.
I wouldn't say we have, as of right now, a huge beef, but I could easily see things escalating.
You're a good dude, Urijah, yeah? Just be glad that you don't gotta face me.
Do you believe I'm a fearful man?
I believe I'd kill you stone dead.
He's a real emotional guy, and he can be up 1 minute and down another.
Stay on your feet!
And likes to talk a little smack.
You should walk around with a car and shake that. Big similar.
You look like a 50-year-old retired skateboarder. A little fat old man you look like.
Dude, I love watching that season back. I really feel like you handled yourself very well against a guy who is known as a master orator. How would you advise Michael Chandler in terms of navigating that Conor McGregor here on the 31st season?
Oh, man. Chandler and I are pretty different guys, and they're going to have a much different relationship than Conor and I. I would just say, the same advice I give anybody. Be yourself and stand your ground, and things will play out the way they do. I think they're going to be heated. They are actually fighting, and, they're going to have a lot of buildup. When I spoke to Conor about this situation, he said this season is different because he was coming off of his first big payday and his first world championship. This time he's focused on making this his camp. So I think he's going to be a little more on edge, to be honest.
Yeah, that's interesting when you lay it out like that. Definitely a different dynamic for Conor McGregor this time around. Before I let you go, they are going to fight. Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler. I don't necessarily need a prediction, but can you give me a lean as to who you think will win that fight when they finally lock the door behind them?
Man, traditionally in the past, old school MMA, I would have said the high-level wrestler is always going to win. But Conor, I feel, has closed those gaps a lot. I think Chandler takes a lot of big risk and likes to fight wild and aggressive. And I've seen many times where Conor's power is just too much and his precision is too much. And I think it's going to be in a 5-round fight, leaning towards McGregor.
All right, good breakdown as usual. Urijah, we appreciate the time, my man. Back to the coaching in Vegas. We look forward to seeing you in the not-too-distant future, brother.
You got it, guys. Enjoy the season. I can't wait.
All right, thank you, Urijah Faber. So this season, you may have heard, is different than those past seasons of The Ultimate Fighter. We got UFC prospects going toe-to-toe with UFC veterans, but how will it all work? Well, let's hear from the man who made the rules, UFC President Dana White, in this sneak peek into Episode 1.
All right, so we have you guys divided into 135 vets and 155 vets. Over here is 135 prospects and 155 prospects. I'm going to flip the coin. Blue is Conor McGregor. Red is Michael Chandler. So whoever wins the coin toss gets the first pick. And whichever coach gets the first pick, let's say they pick the 135 division first. I want the 135 vets. All the vets go to that coach. Then the rest of the 135s go to the other coach. Then he will get the next pick, whether he wants vets or prospects. The winning coach gets to make the first pick.
Kind of looked like blue to me, but to see who won the coin toss, you will need to catch the first episode Tuesday, May 30th, 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and E+. And did I mention all 16 fighters, by the way, going to be living under the same roof while competing against one another? Pure mixed martial arts mayhem.
This is a very unique opportunity. We picked who we believe are the best guys in this country right now, and you guys are it. Do you want to be a fighter? You have nothing to worry about every day, except coming in and getting better at what supposedly you want to do for a living. It's not about cutting weight. It's not about living in a house. Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question. And only you know that. It's up to you. Have a good night, gentlemen.
All right, welcome back to Before the Ultimate Fighter, Team McGregor versus Team Chandler. I'm Jon Anik. So over the past 30 seasons, this competition has produced no fewer than 14 world champions and dozens of other men and women who shot to UFC stardom. This show undeniably will be a life-changing opportunity for 16 more fighters, some of whom work everyday jobs as they pursue that elusive UFC contract, and others hoping for a second crack in the big show. just like one contestant who has competed on The Ultimate Fighter prior. And check this, he actually won it all on his season.
I want to be in the UFC. I didn't get released and then only fight killers just to fight killers just because I love the sport. It was to get back here. This is what all this has been for. This is a lifetime of work to be here.
All right, now we are absolutely thrilled to welcome in one of the toughest men on this or any planet, the former Ultimate Fighter coach, former UFC lightweight champion, the underground king, Eddie Alvarez. I get very excited to talk to you, my man. Congrats on the recent win in bare knuckle boxing. It's good to have a few minutes with you today. So we're talking about the Ultimate Fighter season 31. And on this season, we got prospects on one side, we got veterans on the other. Now, if you were given the choice as a coach, are you taking the prospects or are you taking the guys who have actually been in the UFC before?
Personally, I got to go with the prospects because it's like that old line, like it's hard to teach a old dog new tricks, and veterans are tough to deal with. And I feel like I would mesh well with the prospects because I'm a veteran myself, right? I think that, the fact that they're a prospect, that they're young, hungry, and excited, and they got wide open eyes for their opportunity. And I'd be able to give them something that they don't have, which is the experience of stepping in the octagon, being on a big stage, and fighting in front of millions of people. I just feel like it meshes a lot better if I was to go with the prospects. Veterans, we may butt heads because, like I said, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. I'm an old dog myself, so.
And the old dog's still getting it done, of course, as we saw just a few weeks ago. But one thing we know about The Ultimate Fighter, every season offers up some form of drama. Oftentimes it's between fighters living in the house. Sometimes, though, it's between the fighter and their coach, like you experienced on season 26. So quickly, let us look back at season 26 of The Ultimate Fighter.
I've been considerably patient with Lauren. Since she's lost, she's had a bad attitude. I came in this morning and she was already sweating.
I went to the blue team practice this morning. I just think it'd be better for me. I made you a card though. I made one for all the coaches, and I do want to thank you for everything you've done. But
what there though? What's there? What's at the blue team?
I don't know. I just think it would be better for me. I like that team. I've been really frustrated on this team.
What are you frustrated about?
Just a bunch of Eddie.
Like what? I feel like I've been doing my best.
I think you have been doing your best. I totally agree with you. And I'm not pissed or anything. I just think it would be better for me to be on the other team.
So we make Eddie Alvarez relive that today. And Lauren Murphy, for the record, has bounced around with different training camps since The Ultimate Fighter. But what was that like for you in that moment, navigating that situation with another athlete?
It's tough and difficult as a coach because, you want to be absolutely selfless. The idea of being a fighter is to be selfish, the way she was, right? So, but the idea of a coach is to be selfless. I'm there for them, right? I'm there to give my heart and soul to the athletes that are on that show, and I wanted to do that. And I feel like maybe I overcoached. I cared too much. I really wanted to pour my heart and soul into the people who went there because I felt like if I had myself as a younger athlete, younger fighter, my God, my eyes would be wide open. I would humble myself.
So you are in a unique position, right? You've coached on The Ultimate Fighter, then you fought Justin Gaethje. That went exceedingly well for you. But you also have experience against our coaches, Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. So it puts you in sort of a unique position to analyze the two of them and this impending matchup. So what were your thoughts when these two were announced as the coaches, and what are your expectations when they lock that octagon door behind them?
I thought, what a hell of a fight, and a lot of questions that a lot of questions to be answered with Conor's time off. Conor, of course, is not going to be the same Conor that he was back during his Jose Aldo, Nate Diaz, myself when he was fighting them. He was quite active. He was fighting 3 and 4 times a year. So we wouldn't expect the same exact guy who was excited about winning world titles, but will we see that resurgence of energy, enjoyment, and excitement and gratitude toward the game of MMA? And I feel like we will. Mike Chandler's a hell of an athlete. I just think stylistically, the way he's been fighting and the strategy he's been going about fighting isn't the way to get it done against Conor McGregor. And I would implore him, if I was his coach, to change his style, to go for single legs, to go for shots, and force Conor to wrestle early.
Yeah.
You have to force him to wrestle early So he don't have the powerful tools that he's able to take advantage of in all these other guys. Is quick feet, good range, great striking. You take that away when you wrestle him early. Wrestle him early enough and tire his shoulders down, tire his legs down, you slow him down, and he's half the striker that he can be when he's fully energized. So the problem with Mike Chandler that I'm seeing is that he's trying to please the fans too much, and that doesn't always win you a world title. Pleasing the fans is great. It'll make you millions of dollars. It'll do all that, but getting to the gold and keeping the gold, it's sort of a selfish thing, and maybe he needs to be a little more selfish in his game planning to win the fight rather than to excite the crowd.
You put that well. Tremendous insight, as usual, from Eddie Alvarez. There's only one Underground King, champ. We appreciate the time. We'll see you down the line.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
I got one dude on my mind. Conor McGregor. You gotta come back and fight somebody. I am the most entertaining lightweight on the planet.
I would like to announce the return of the notorious Conor McGregor.
Team Chandler
That's why you paid the big bucks for Michael Chandler.
versus Team McGregor
We're not here to take part. We're here to take over.
on The Ultimate Fighter, and then fighting later this year.
Surprise, surprise. The king is back.
All right, we are now joined by one of the biggest stars in the game, UFC lightweight contender, and now Ultimate Fighter coach, my good friend Michael Chandler. Champ, it's always good to have a few minutes with you. Now, when this show was announced, a lot of us felt like this would be a really good fit for you. How much actual mixed martial arts coaching, though, had you done prior to this tough experience?
Oh, man, actually not much at all. I mean, obviously, as a guy who's been in the sport for 15 years, I am looked at like a veteran of the sport. So when I'm training with guys, I get asked a lot of things, but I've never actually been in a coaching role. So to be honest with you, I was a little bit scared about it, but I think it worked out really well. And I think I found my footing there filming the show pretty quickly. And I think Team Chandler did pretty well.
You're always a guy who leans into the positive, right? But to what extent did you enjoy the process when it came to coaching and imparting your knowledge on the younger athletes?
I will tell you this, the biggest eye-opener was it was much harder than I thought it was going to be. Partly because I think I cared a little bit too much. As soon as I set foot there in Vegas, as soon as I met my team, as soon as I shook their hand and promised them that I was going to put my best foot forward, I immediately put this immense amount of pressure on myself to get my guys in the best situation possible to win the Ultimate Fighter or get a UFC contract. So every single day, 24/7, I was thinking about my guys, how to get them in the best situation possible. And a lot of that weighed on me. I'd be lying if it didn't weigh on me. There was definitely moments where I felt like I was, at my last, on my last nerve, on my last energy cell, if you will. So it was a tough experience, but it was a lot of fun and a very fulfilling experience for me because I do think I was able to pour into these guys a lot, and it was a lot of fun.
So you signed with the UFC several years ago with much fanfare, I might add, and I know you were hopeful at some point that a fight against Conor McGregor would materialize. Now you're coaching opposite him on The Ultimate Fighter, live on ESPN. What was the biggest challenge in sort of dealing with Conor and that dynamic on a more day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I mean, Conor was the guy that I wanted to fight when I came into the UFC. Needed to fight a lot of guys to get to that time. He's a guy that I would compete against. He's a guy who has built up this aura about him, this mystique about him. So to be actually in Vegas with him, in person with him, to be around the man, number one, I think it helped me. It humanized him a little bit more. He is just a guy with 2 arms and 2 legs, even though he is this big, larger-than-life figure out there in the media and on TV screens and movie screens out there. But it was definitely something that was eye-opening because Conor is a performer. Conor is very good when those lights come on. He's very good when the cameras come on. And you got to be on your best game because you never know which Conor you're going to get. Is he going to be the subdued, nice, kill you with kindness Conor one day on Monday, and then on Tuesday he comes in spitting venom, and you have no idea. You just got to be on your toes, on edge, really, for the entire process. And I definitely was, to say the least.
Yeah, it seemed like you were on your toes. We saw that little blurb, the sneak peek about the weight class, and he mentioned 185 pounds and then softly said to you, "You'll do what you're told." I know a lot of people are talking about this fight and at the end of the season. What is your expectation as to how soon and in which weight class you guys might actually compete?
You know, I think it's still up in the air. For me, I signed on the dotted line to go out there and put butts in seats, keep people on the edge of their seats, and be the most entertaining guy on the UFC roster in the entire world. When it comes to the weight class, I said it, and I meant it. I would do 185 if he wants to do 185. I gladly will take 170, and if we got to go to 155, I'll do that as well. But 170 sounds like the most viable option, the most likely option. And as far as timeline, you know, I'm excited for this show to come out. I think we will probably get an announcement here very soon, and I see us fighting sometime in the fall, possibly moving into the winter, but probably sometime in the fall. And I can't wait to do it. You know, I've been training. You know, I've been staying in shape. You know, I'm on my P's and Q's, studying Conor's tape, and I'm excited to go out there and perform.
Well, of course, first things first, only the most anticipated season in the history of The Ultimate Fighter, and one of your coaches, the legend Michael Chandler. Champ, appreciate the time as always. We'll see you down the line.
Thank you, John.
All right, make sure you catch a new episode of The Ultimate Fighter, Team McGregor versus Team Chandler, every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Plus, beginning May 30th. And stick around to have some fun with everyone's adopted UFC uncle, Dean Thomas, on After Tough, immediately following every episode on ESPN Plus and YouTube. Every week, he'll be joined live by the episode's winner and some tough royalty to dive into all the action. Also see exclusive footage you will not find anywhere else. All right, with that, we very much appreciate you joining us for Before the Ultimate Fighter. I'm Jon Anik. We will see you May 30th live for the season premiere on ESPN and E+, when Conor McGregor and Iron Michael Chandler go head-to-head for some serious bragging rights. We'll see you May 30th. Thanks for tuning in.
On this season of The Ultimate Fighter, former two-division world champion Conor McGregor makes his return.
This is my game forever.
Against Iron Michael Chandler. They'll face off as coaches guiding 8 former UFC fighters against 8 hoping to get their first shot. The Ultimate Fighter, Team McGregor versus Team Chandler. Coming May 30th, only on ESPN and ESPN Plus.